Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ridho. I am student in Education Religious Islamic Program. Today I will be explaining about book 13 September Incident Movement. Okay, take it on.
Chapter 1: War Repression and Economic Decolonization of Indonesia in Search of New Relation in the Era of National Integration. In this chapter, review the main issues during negotiation between two countries and factors that ultimately contribute to final agreement. The fundamental faced by two countries before the September 30 incident by examining the issue of war reparation. Chapter 2: Payment of war reparation and its influence on Indonesian economy. In this chapter, review about report of the Japanese Ministry of Industry and Trade, MITI. In 96 11 of 36 projects have not been completed, while 7 of the completed projects not functioning properly. On other words, only 18 projects, approximately half of total project operation and negotiation project and maintaining communication between the Japanese and Indonesian government. Chapter 3: Japan's Political Role and Pre-Gestapo Indonesia. Japan's good image of Sukarno. In the early days of Japan-Indonesia relation, Japanese politicians, diplomats, and businessmen view Sukarno differently compared to Western countries. Britannia and the US considered Sukarno a dangerous person who was very sympathetic to communist ideology. In this chapter also explains Japan's economic position in Indonesia. All Japanese assets had long been confiscated as a result of the war, namely, they were first taken over by the Dutch as enemy property when the war broke out of December 8, 1941. Chapter 4: September 30 Incident in Japan. Japan's first official response came in the form of a message to Sukarno from Prime Minister Sato Eisaku, expressing regret for this incident and gratitude for his safety following Sukarno's first speech via RRI on 3 October. China, the Soviet Union, USSR, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Cuba sent similar message, but no major country in the West did. MOFA has handed over the final decision to Ambassador Saito on whether Japan should send the message. Communication around Jakarta almost stopped. Telephone lines were cut off, and there was no means of communication even between the Japanese embassy and the consulates general in Medan and Surabaya when the incident occurred. Response from the left dispute the ambiguity of the JCV, the Japanese left began to speak out against the atrocities in the late January 1966. Chapter 5: Tears in the Eyes of Dewi Sukarno. This chapter discusses the image of 30 SPKA in the eyes of Dewi Sukarno. Dewi, a strong anti-communist, instinctively thought that she should pull her husband away from PKI. In addition to Martono, there were other people, mostly close friends, who came to encourage support her or to give various information. All those things made Dewi very worried, and she suspected something urgent and critical had happened. She was urged to prepare for the worst case scenario, and so she began to sort out important documents and precious goods with the help of her Japanese private secretary, Belano Miko. Chapter 6: Indonesian Community in Japan. This chapter explains what the situation is Indonesia community in Japan. In March 1966, after the Super Semar incident, the political climate drastically changed for Indonesians in Japan. Right-wing member of the Indonesian Student Association or PPI were reported to have removed Sukarno's picture from embassy walls, reflecting the shift in political allegiance. By the time of the 30 SPKI, 1965, there were about 1,500 Indonesians in Japan, mostly students and trainees on war reparation scholarship start in 1960 and Monbuso scholarships from the Japanese Ministry of Education start in 1964. The BPI had around 400 members and was established in Japan in June 1953, reorganizing in 1960 with the arrival of the war reparation student. It included not only students but also trainees and employees. The leadership positions were elected annually, with Lili Satari becoming chairman after the September 30 incident. Chapter 7. Toward the formation of Orde Baru. Condition toward formation of Orde Baru, Japan's strategic advantage and different approach to economic and during Indonesia's period of power struggle allowed it to secure a dominant economic position in Orde Baru Indonesia. During Indonesia's political turmoil, Japan's economic and policy was inconsistent due to personal attachment to President Sukarno and differing views among Japanese officials. Initially, Japan avoided heading Suharto's faction to prevent accusation of interference. However, once Suharto rose to power, Japan quickly provided aid, including rice, cotton trade, and loans, despite initial uncoordinated effort with list. This led to dissatisfaction among other countries that favored a conservative approach. The first consortium meeting forming the Intergovernmental Group on Indonesia (AGGA) took place in February 1967, marking shift in Japan-Indonesia relation toward economic focus. Okay, that's all I can say. Apologies if any of the wrong words are from me and correct ones are from Allah. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan.